That day changed everything. The neurologist said, Seth, your test results came back positive for Huntington's disease. I blocked out everything the neurologist had to say after that because I knew I was destined to slowly deteriorate both physically and mentally, just like my mom. Now, minutes before this, I was your typical 20-year-old college sophomore, happy, with lots of friends, loved playing soccer and basketball, and going out on the weekends. But especially going out on the weekends. But in my head, I couldn't help but think that I just tested positive for Huntington's disease. Now, deep down inside, I knew I already had it, but this was just confirmation that it was for real. And I was in shock. So what is Huntington's disease, which is also known as HD? I'll paint you a picture. My mom had poor balance and wobbly movements, often tripping and falling over. We had neighbors who thought she was just a drunk. She had these severe mood swings where 1 minute she was fine, and then the next she was frustrated or angry or depressed. And finally, there's this cognitive decline, which results in short-term memory loss, loss of concentration, decision-making, among other things. HD is a rare neurological genetic disease, as if someone has ALS, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's all at once. And the worst part about it is that there is no cure. Once a person starts showing symptoms, the average lifespan is 10 to 20 years. My mom was slowly dying of this disease, was only 49 years old, and there was nothing I could do about it besides watching her clock slowly tick down. I first learned about my mom's condition when I was about 15 years old, but like most teens, I was too focused on the present to worry about the future. In fact, I felt like I was in denial, and I was often embarrassed out in public with my mom due to her slurred speech and wobbly movements, and would even stay at my friends' houses just to get away. It wasn't until I went to college that it really hit me. I have a 50-50 chance of inheriting this disease and ending up one day just like my mom. A simple flip of a coin. Heads I win, tails I lose. I just didn't know what side it was going to be because I had not been tested yet, like most people and families who carry a fatal genetic disease. So although I wasn't ready to get tested, I felt like I still needed to do something. So my freshman year in college, my friend Max and I decided to put on this 3-on-3 basketball charity event called Hoops for Huntington's to raise money and awareness for the disease. You could say this was my way of coping, not thinking about testing, and ultimately just keeping busy. But I couldn't help but still think about it because of the impact it would have on my future, no matter which side of the coin would come up. Do I want to get married and have kids? What about buying a house or traveling around the world? What about my career plans? These were things that were constantly on my mind and I needed to know. It was mentally draining on a daily basis, and I was tired of living with the unknown, so I got tested. I thought I was prepared for the news, but in fact, I wasn't. Because minutes before going into that exam room, I was just Seth. But now, I was HD Seth, and I had to figure out how HD Seth wanted to live his life. One thing I knew, I couldn't tell my family. My mom was still alive at the time, and I knew she'd feel terribly guilty knowing she passed along this disease to her son. My dad was a caregiver for my mom, and I didn't want to feel like another burden to him. And then there's my older sister. And because it's a genetic disease, I didn't want her to feel pressured to also get tested. So I told a few friends who were very helpful and supportive throughout the process. I had one friend who came with me for my results, and the rest I told on my hour-and-a-half car ride back to college. So without knowing it, I put myself in this genetic disease closet, I shut the door, and I hid my results from my family and most of the world. 6 months, 1 year, 2 years went by. I was still that typical college kid, but now I was more actively involved in the HD community. I joined a few HD organizations. I was raising money and awareness and supporting young people and families impacted by the disease. And everyone just assumed I was doing this because of my mom. My senior year in college, in fact, the day before my last semester, my good friend Jake unexpectedly died in an accident. In his high school yearbook, there's this quote that he embodied so much, his parents put it on his headstone. This quote said, "Live as if you were to die tomorrow, learn as if you were to live forever." So I thought, how can I keep Jake's memory alive by living my life to the fullest? Now, a short time after this, I lost another friend, Megan, who had a version of HD and passed away at the age of 26. Now, Megan was very open about her story and was doing as much as she could to raise money and awareness for the disease. So I thought, holy crap, I just lost 2 friends gone way too soon. Why do I need to continue to hide my HD results? Despite Megan and Jake's circumstances, their positive outlook on life inspired me. This was my turning point to finally come out of that genetic disease closet and go from being HD Seth to just plain old Seth. But first, I had to tell my dad and my sister. I decided to tell them separately, and I started with my dad. I vividly remember walking into the living room, sitting on the couch across from him, and telling him I had something important to tell him. After a long silence, he looked at me and said, "All right, Seth, what is it? What do you need to tell me?" "Dad, I tested positive for Huntington's disease." He then just looked at me and said, "Okay." "Okay, that's all you're going to say?" He then said, "Seth, researchers are making great progress, and soon enough, there's going to be a cure." Now, I told my dad I didn't want Mom to know about this, so we both agreed not to tell her. But it was so reassuring to know that my dad was going to stick by my side, just like he did with my mom. So 1 down, 1 to go. I knew telling my sister wasn't going to be easy, but in fact, I was wrong. After telling her, she had a few questions, but was very loving and supportive. But what shocked her most, like most people, was that I kept this a secret for 2 whole years. Now, I realized this was such a big mistake, and if I could go back in time, I would tell my dad and my sister from day one. Because after telling them, it was a huge sigh of relief, and I felt like a weight just lifted off my shoulder. I felt like a new person, a new Seth. I was motivated, inspired, and hopeful. And I knew what I wanted to do in life, which was share my HD journey and be a mentor to young people who face some type of adversity in life. Whether it's HD related or another challenging circumstance, helping young people is what makes me happy and who I am today. Just Seth. Not long after telling my dad and my sister, I got a tattoo. And here it is. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. This is my constant reminder that life is too short and to take nothing for granted. A few years ago, my mom lost her 17-year battle to this devastating disease. She was and still is my inspiration. Brave, and always had a smile on her face to go along with her sense of humor. This journey is my journey, but it's not unique. I'm one of millions of people who have to decide whether or not they want to get tested for a genetic disease. If you happen to be one of them, remember that this is and should be a very personal decision because of the impact it will have on your future. Now, having been there, done that, there are 3 things I've learned that I would like to share. First, if you can work with a genetic counselor and a neurologist who specializes in this field, do it. With their knowledge, it will make the process a lot more manageable and easier. Not easy, but easier. The second thing, talk to your family and close friends about it from day one. I realized after telling my dad and my sister, I was just more comfortable and I didn't have to hide in that genetic disease closet. And finally, when things get tough, remember that each day is a new day, and you have the opportunity to make the most of it. We all have choices in life we have to make. Some are easy, some are hard. The harder they are, the more support we need, so reach out and ask for it. Find your motto, find your reason, and hey, maybe get a tattoo. Thank you.